Latunski.
Mark Latunski.
Mark Latunski.
Mark Latunski.
It's a case detectives are calling shocking and unsettling.
He described the things that he wanted. We made the agreement. What was the agreement? I would make his body disappear.
Latunski also admitted to cutting off Bacon's testicles and eating them.
After Mr. Bacon was dead, did you remove part of his body, specifically his testicles?
Yes, I did.
Did you move those testicles to the kitchen?
Yes, I did.
19 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable. You name it, I've seen it. This is the worst case I've ever seen, because there is no way any person with any feeling could have witnessed or seen the photos of what occurred that night and not be haunted for the rest of your life.
This is Mark David Latunski, who was facing charges of first-degree murder and mutilation of a dead body in Shiawassee County, Michigan. In October 2019, 50-year-old Latunski lured and entrapped a 48-year-old man in the basement of his house. The man managed to escape.
I broke out of the and I need a ride. I'm in Trump. I met this guy. I'm by. He was cute. He hit on me. I know. We went out to the car. We talked. We went to the store. Had a soda. I woke up in the basement. Okay. He obviously drugged me.
6 weeks later, authorities received a similar 911 call.
I'm trying to escape from some guy who had me chained up in his basement.
He had you chained in his basement? Where are you calling from?
I don't know. He's after me.
Hey, Z, I need you to go to somewhere safe. If you can run up to somebody's house.
And this kid has his face covered with a rag and a phone to his ear, and he's like, help me, he's after me, just scared to death out of his mind. This kid grabs my arm and clutches behind me. Keep him away from me, just scared out of his mind.
Both times, no charges were pressed, until Christmas Eve that year, when 25-year-old Kevin Bacon went missing after going on a date with Latunski. This time, when police arrived at Latunski's house, they made a horrific discovery.
The body was found at the far end of that room. He was nude, and he was hanging from his feet by the ceiling of the basement.
Latunski tried to paint a picture of an assisted suicide case and claimed that Kevin had convinced Latunski to kill him.
He described the things that he wanted. I did what I could to bring those things about. We made the agreement, and he was supposed to disappear.
However, what he revealed next shocked even the most seasoned of detectives.
After he was dead, and it was then that I started to do what I told him I was going to do. I was going to eat part of him.
Definitely wasn't prepared for that. Fortunately, I was able to keep my composure for the most part. But I think my stomach was turning right about that time.
Eventually, Latunski pleaded guilty to all charges.
On that date, were you with Kevin Bacon?
Yes, I was.
Did you use a knife to stab Mr. Bacon?
Yes, I did.
After Mr. Bacon was dead, did you remove part of his body, specifically his testicles?
Yes, I did.
Did you move those testicles to the kitchen?
Yes, I did.
Now it was up to a judge to decide whether the cannibal would be locked up for life or not.
This is one of the most brutal, horrific murders I've seen, not only in this county, but in the state. It was premeditated, it was calculated, it was cold. Murder and mutilation. I tried to think of this, a word for this, murder. What came to my mind was pure evil.
First-degree murder is the most serious crime recognized in our criminal justice system. The most serious crime deserves the most serious sentence, that of life with no possibility of parole. That would also be the court's intent, that defendant never be released from custody under any circumstance.
Ultimately, Mark Latunski was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the brutal murder of Kevin Bacon. If eating and dismembering a person sent Latunski only to prison for life, imagine the horrors one has to commit to be sentenced to death.
Therefore, this court sentences you, Jason Allen Thornburg, to death.
This is 41-year-old Jason Thornburg, who was on trial for murdering and mutilating several people in Fort Worth, Texas. In 2021, Jason murdered 42-year-old David Lueras, 34-year-old Lauren Phillips, and 33-year-old Maricruz Mathis, and hid their bodies in a motel room.
He then dismembered their bodies and kept them under his bed at a Euless motel. Afterwards, he set the bodies on fire in a dumpster in Fort Worth.
According to reports, the killings were committed as ritualistic sacrifices, and as a result, Jason consumed parts of his victims' bodies. He was caught when he tried to dispose of the remains by burning them in a dumpster.
This was shocking. It's unsettling.
However, that was not all. Jason later confessed that he had committed 2 other murders previously for the same sacrificial purposes. One of them was his girlfriend, 37-year-old Tanya Begay, who had been missing since 2017. Her body is yet to be found.
He is a psychopath. He is evil.
Jason was convicted on 3 counts of capital murder. At his sentencing, Jason showed no emotion and remained stone-faced as family members of his victims delivered powerful impact statements.
You have committed the ultimate blasphemy against God. You have said you do the work of God, but it is Satan you work for. Yes, you're exactly like Satan, a liar, a thief, and a murdering coward.
I do believe, and it's my opinion, that you are a danger to society. And the only thing that you do deserve is death.
Ultimately, Jason Thornburg was given the death penalty for his long list of heinous crimes. Although Jason murdered and cannibalized 5 people for religious sacrifices, it pales in comparison to what happened when one of America's most famous man-eaters was finally caught. This is Jeffrey Dahmer, a notorious serial killer who was on trial for numerous murders that spanned over a decade in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
It's a process that doesn't happen overnight. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it seems to make it easier to do things you shouldn't do.
Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer went on a crime spree where he murdered and mutilated 17 men and boys.
I'd go to the nightclubs, drink, and meet someone there, offer them money, and we'd go back to the apartment, have a few drinks. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep, and that's when they would be strangled.
After his victims died, Dahmer engaged in acts of necrophilia, cannibalism, and preservation of body parts.
Eating of the heart and the arm muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
Dahmer would later claim that he had an obsession with murder and would often be overcome by his twisted desires.
I had these obsessive desires and thoughts wanting to control them, to, I don't know how to put it, possess them permanently.
And that's why you killed them?
Right, right. Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me. And as my obsession grew, I was saving body parts such as skulls and skeletons.
The trail of horror ended when one of his victims, 32-year-old Tracy Edwards, escaped and called the authorities.
He was listening to my heart because at a point he told me he was going to eat my heart at that point. I hit him and I ran.
When police arrived, what they found left the entire world stunned.
Dismembered human remains, decapitated heads in a refrigerator freezer, limbs and male genitals in other containers, and a large barrel full of acid.
And there were human heads and bones and things all over every drawer we opened, every cabinet we opened. There was body parts.
Dahmer was charged with 16 counts of first-degree murder. He pleaded guilty but insane to 15 of them. Dahmer was diagnosed with various mental disorders, but was eventually found legally sane to stand trial. And after a 2-week trial, he was ultimately convicted on all 15 counts. Family members and loved ones of the victims gave powerful impact statements during sentencing. For one of them, the situation became too overwhelming.
Oldest sister of Errol Lindsay, whatever your name is, Satan, I'm mad. This is how you act when you are out of control. I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I hate you, motherfucker. I hate you. This is out of control. Don't with me, Jeffrey. I kill you. God damn it. Look at me, motherfucker. I kill you.
As the victim's sister exploded at him, Dahmer was unmoved and stared straight ahead. However, he later took responsibility for his actions and apologized to the grieving family members.
I didn't ever want freedom. Frankly, I wanted death for myself. This was a case to tell the world that I did what I did not for reasons of hate. I hated no one. I knew I was sick or evil or both. Now I believe I was sick, and if I could give my life right now to bring their loved ones back, I would do it. I am so very sorry. I deserve whatever I get because of what I have done.
In 1992, Jeffrey Dahmer was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms in prison.
It now becomes the duty of the court to impose sentence in this case. I believe what we had was a homosexual who could not accept the fact that he was a homosexual. And there was never a problem in a situation that he could walk away from and remain, in effect, anonymous. But once he brought somebody to his home, he could no longer remain anonymous. There's one way to avoid that: destroy the evidence. It's a vicious way to destroy the evidence, but that's my view of what was going on. In terms of what happened to these people, gosh, I was horrified. As to count 1, count 2, count 3, count 4, life imprisonment.
2 years later, he was beaten to death by a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. While Jeffrey Dahmer butchered, preserved, and cannibalized his young victims in private, how does it compare to murdering and eating someone in broad daylight?
Oh my God! I don't know what the...
Is he still feeding him?
Yeah, I don't know what the going to this, man. That's some weird
This is 29-year-old Colin Czech, who was accused of beating a man to death and cannibalizing a part of his face at a bus stop in Las Vegas, Nevada.
He's beating him, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, please. Get that police over here.
Okay.
And the ambulance.
On the line. You said he's feeding him right now?
Yeah. He's kneeing him on the face.
Which one is me? Which is it? The HMA? It's the Hispanic that's feeding
the guy with the burgundy on is kneeing the other guy on the face. Yeah. The Hispanic guy. Oh my God.
When police arrived at the scene, they made a horrific discovery.
What's going on?
Oh my gosh.
What's going on?
Get away. Get away. Get on the ground.
Colin was found covered in blood, sitting on the side of the road beside the dead body of one Kenneth Brown. Upon closer inspection, officers noticed that Brown was missing an eyeball and an ear.
Yeah. Don't move.
Colin claimed that during the incident, he felt that he was being possessed by something. He also revealed that he had been awake for 5 days straight. In court, the public defender claimed that Colin was legally insane to stand trial.
We don't have any known conflicts in this case at this time. However, I've spoken to him and I've determined that he is incompetent.
However, after further evaluation, Colin was found competent.
I'm finding you competent pursuant to the Dusky standard and therefore capable of understanding the nature of the charges against you and able to aid and assist counsel in your defense.
Colin Czech is set to go to trial for capital murder. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. While Colin attempted to eat a middle-aged homeless man, what happens when a cannibal targets a 10-year-old girl?
Yeah, I hit her. You know, it's all kind of a blur once it started happening, but I hit her, I think 3 times.
This is Kevin Underwood, a 27-year-old loner who was accused of murdering a young girl in Purcell, Oklahoma. In April 2006, Underwood lured his upstairs neighbor, 10-year-old Jamie Bolin, into his apartment and bludgeoned and suffocated her to death.
I hit her. You know, it's all kind of a blur once it started happening, but I hit her, I think 3 times, maybe 4. It took me probably 15-20 minutes to kill her.
After Jamie was reported missing, local police searched Underwood's apartment and found Jamie's dismembered body sealed up in a box in the bedroom closet. Underwood was arrested without any resistance. In fact, he was very cooperative during the interrogation, happily giving up details of his gruesome plan.
I was going to, while they were still alive and gagged, I was going to drape them over the bathtub and cut off their head. And then hang them there and let the blood all drain out, good and drained out. And I was going to keep the body around for a couple of days. I was going to set the head on my desk so it could like watch me. And, you know, keep the corpse in my bed, sleeping with it, having sex with it for a day or 2. And then I was going to start boning them and cooking them. I was probably going to keep the skull. But then, you know, I was going to pretty much eat everything.
After his confession tape was played in court, the jury found Underwood guilty of first-degree murder and recommended the death sentence. Underwood later appealed his sentence, claiming that it was unconstitutionally cruel, as he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, a neurodevelopmental disorder. He also apologized to the victim's family during his clemency hearing.
I recognize that although I do not want to die, I recognize that I deserve to for what I did. And I would like to apologize to the victim's family, to my own family, and to everyone in that room today who had to hear the horrible details of what I did.
However, Jamie's family was buying none of it.
She will never have the experience to be a wife, to have a career, to be a mother, go to college, or all the things that life has to offer. There is no one else to blame except you, Kevin Underwood. You not only took her life, but you ended ours as well. You, Kevin Underwood, single-handedly changed our family forever. How dare you, Kevin Underwood, ask for clemency? How dare you look at the courts, look at Jamie's family, and ask that of us?
And neither did the parole board members, who denied Underwood clemency and upheld his death sentence.
Richard Miller?
No.
Robert Revis?
No.
Susan Stava? No.
On December 19th, 2024, exactly on his 45th birthday, Kevin Underwood was executed via lethal injection for the horrific murder of Jamie Bolin. While Kevin's twisted desires led him to brutalize his 10-year-old neighbor, it's nothing compared to the actions of Allison Weaver, a 44-year-old mother of 3 who attempted to eat her best friend alive.
I let Allison Thompson Weaver in my home, and in return she tried to kill me.
In September 2019, Allison was staying over at a friend's house in Rochester, Michigan, where the 2 women partied all night. After the friend went to sleep, Allison, who was already drinking and doing drugs while under heavy medication, suddenly became violent and attacked her.
And I just was like, Allison, what are you doing? And she just kept giving me this look, like with her head going back and forth, and I was like, what are you doing? And she just lunged at me, and started strangling me. The next thing I remember is trying to get away and her hearing her as clear as day, with like no reflection in her tone, just saying, sorry, but you're gonna have to die today.
When neighbors called the cops, they discovered a scene straight out of a horror movie.
When I walked in the bedroom, I observed 2 females. Both appeared to be covered in blood. Miss Weaver told me that they were having consensual sex, and that Miss was a vampire, and that Miss Weaver, was a wolf. I noticed a large wound to the side of her left eye area and cheek. And I also noticed that the outer edge of her left ear appeared to be missing.
The injured woman was rushed to the hospital, where doctors found bite marks all over her body, and she was missing portions of her left ear and cheek.
Every hour of every day, I deal with excruciating pain because of what she did to me and the countless bite wounds, including my breasts and vagina. I have permanent nerve damage all over my face and body. She bit off my ear and literally consumed parts of me, like my cheek, for instance.
Given the severity of the case, the charges against Allison were surprisingly lenient. Eventually, Allison pleaded guilty to all charges and was now in court to face the woman she had violently attacked.
I have some memories of the attack that night, like bits and pieces of a horror movie. First of waking up in my own bed to find her in some animal-like crawling position, naked, ready to pounce on me. Her strangling me, the expression on her face, until I was unconscious. The extreme pain I felt as I regained consciousness and could not move from being raped, beaten, and literally eaten alive from head to toe.
As the victim laid out the horrific events that unfolded that night, Allison showed very little emotion and stared right at her.
And then she whispered the words, "You have to die." I begged her, "I'll do anything you want." But she laughed and replied, "It's too late," and began strangling me again a second time.
Before imposing sentence, the judge took a minute to address the court.
But I've been up here for 25 years, and I've seen murder cases that were not nearly as violent as this case. This is an abomination. And it was like reading a script for a horror movie. I can't even imagine what you were going through. I've never seen any pictures from it or any photographs, and I can't imagine what the scene looked like. And I can't imagine psychologically where you were in doing this to her and the excuses that were made for it. And then this was the first time I saw the medical records in terms of all the wounds on her body and her face and her genitals. Horrific is not even the word for it. These charges would ever have intended to reflect what actually happened here. These charges are not what was seen here. So in some ways, it's a gift what these charges are. It could have been worse. And I'm glad it wasn't worse for you physically.
In the end, Allison Weaver was sentenced to just 10 to 15 years in prison for the horrific attempted murder of her best friend.
I would like to apologize to the victim and to her family. I do feel really, really horrible about what happened. I wish I could take it away.
While attacking and eating your best friend is already unthinkable, it pales in comparison to the actions of 31-year-old Mathew Hertgan, a former college soccer star who was accused of murdering and dismembering his own brother.
Mathew Hertgan beat his younger brother with a golf club and stabbed him to death. He's also alleged to have gouged out his brother's eyes and to have killed the family cat.
On the night of February 22nd, 2025, Mathew made a 911 call to the authorities reporting a fire and a body inside his upscale apartment in downtown Princeton, New Jersey. Upon arriving, police found the mutilated body of 26-year-old Joseph Hertgan with multiple knife wounds. According to their reports, Joseph, who himself was a former college soccer star, was allegedly bludgeoned by his brother with a golf club and stabbed with a knife. There were also signs that Mathew had eaten parts of Joseph's body after murdering him. Mathew was also accused of beating their family cat to death and setting it on fire. While no motive was found, there were signs that Mathew was struggling with mental health issues, with one ominous post online revealing his darker side.
Quote, "He still has a pulse, blood still flows through his veins."
There were also reports that Mathew attempted to kill himself while in custody and appeared in court wearing a suicide smock. Mathew Hertgan's case is still ongoing. If convicted, he could face up to 30 years to life in prison. While Mathew murdered his younger brother and ate his eyeball, what happens when a convicted teenage murderer goes on to commit a horrific act of cannibalism later in life?
Just isn't right that this person, this evil monster.
This is Joseph Oberhansley, a Utah man who was on trial for murdering his girlfriend and eating parts of her body in Jeffersonville, Indiana.
They say he lived at this home with the victim, and police say when they came to this home this morning, Oberhansley is the one who answered the door. They went inside and found the woman's body.
In September 2014, Oberhansley broke into the home of 47-year-old Tammy Jo Blanton and brutally stabbed her 25 times with a trench knife. Police found Tammy's mutilated body in the bathroom with portions of her body missing.
Officers also testified Blanton's back door appeared to have been forced open. When police went inside, they found blood in several places around the home, and they found Blanton dead in her bathtub.
See, this wasn't Oberhansley's first rodeo with a murder case. Back in 1998, while high on a 17-year-old Oberhansley fatally shot his then-girlfriend and attempted to kill his mother and 13-year-old sister. However, he was offered a plea deal with lesser charges of manslaughter after his family refused to testify against him, resulting in a sentence of only 15 years in prison.
I'm here to support him. I know Sabrina to me is alive in spirit. And I believe that Sabrina would forgive Joseph. Truly, I do.
Now 30, Oberhansley was once again arrested for murder. This time, he confessed to murdering Tammy and eating part of her brain, heart, and lungs. However, Oberhansley later attempted to backtrack on his confession and claimed that he was not Joseph Oberhansley after all.
Who is Zeus Brown?
Me. I'm Zeus Brown.
Did you commit these crimes?
I love you, Joseph. I'm Zeus Brown.
Oberhansley's first trial ended in a hung jury.
Charges and allegations against me are false. That's why they won't let me talk to you people.
What do you say about the death penalty?
They're holding back all my mail. I haven't been able to receive
What do you say about the death penalty?
Any phone calls, letters, anything. So for all my family and friends out there, you know why I haven't been able to respond?
The prosecution asked for a retrial, and in 2020, Oberhansley was finally convicted of first-degree murder and burglary.
Yeah, she tried to help this fool, and just isn't right that this person, this evil monster, there's nothing insane about him. He's just evil.
Ultimately, Joseph Oberhansley was sentenced to life in prison with no hope for parole for the gruesome murder of Tammy Jo Blanton. If murdering a woman and eating her organs gave police a hard time, imagine the horrors they faced when they came across Austin Harouff, a 19-year-old Florida teenager who was accused of a grisly double murder.
The teenager killed a husband and wife and the man's flesh.
On August 15th, 2016, John Stevens and his wife Michelle Mishcon were settling in for a quiet evening when suddenly they were attacked out of nowhere.
Fire rescue, what's your address?
Young man beating up a woman across the street.
Okay, are they outside or in a house?
It's in a garage. I ran over there. I'm bleeding profusely here at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Do you know who he is?
I have no idea. It appears he's still there.
When police arrived, they discovered a horrific and bloody scene.
I saw a huge giant trail of blood. He had his legs intertwined, his arm wrapped around the male, and he had his fingers like a fish hook in his mouth, pulling his face off, trying to pull his cheek apart. He was grounded. He was screaming, "Kill me! I'm eating people! Kill me!" Very loud.
They watched helplessly as Austin sat on Stephen's chest and chewed on his face while he was still alive.
Once in the hospital, detectives reported they saw Harouff spit out what appeared to be human flesh. Then they say they saw human hair in his mouth. Deputies heard him say, quote, "Help me, I ate something bad." A sergeant asked him what he ate. Documents show he responded with, quote, "humans."
Austin was arrested and charged with numerous charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. He claims that he had some kind of manic episode and blacked out numerous times during the incident.
Like, I have some memory of what happened, but I don't remember how
we got into the altercation or into the fighting. I don't remember.
Do you remember her husband coming out?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And do you remember what he said?
No.
He also expressed regret and apologized for his actions.
I really don't have words to explain how I feel. It's like a nightmare.
Is it hard for you to imagine that you did this to these two people?
Yeah. I'm sorry for their loss, and I hope that you can find it in your heart to forgive me. And I'm so sorry, and I never wanted this to happen. I'm so sorry.
Austin pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, and after several psychiatric evaluations, a judge accepted his plea. Safe to say, the victim's family members were not pleased with this outcome.
I hate you. I hate you with every part of my being.
Your family deserves to suffer the way my family suffers.
Some of their pain and anger were also directed towards Austin's parents.
You both said your son acted strangely for weeks leading up to the murders, and you even set up an appointment for him to be evaluated. You should have done your job better, quicker. You should not be purchasing him knives.
As the scathing impact statements concluded, Austin looked towards the heavens, perhaps searching for divine intervention.
I hope that he stays wherever you are sending him forever, and if not forever, for at least my lifetime. I hope society is ready to live with a person like you. Because if you get out and I'm alive, I will call attention to it.
Austin Harouff is currently held at a secure mental health facility. He could be released in the future if doctors and a judge agree that he is no longer dangerous to society. Although Austin randomly attacked a man and chewed on his flesh, what happens when a victim himself chooses a killer to eat him?
Wie gesagt, hatte die Vorstellung, dass ihm also das Fleisch lebend von den Knochen gerissen.
This is Armin Meiwes, a 44-year-old computer technician who was accused of murdering and cannibalizing a man in Rotenburg, Germany. In 2001, Meiwes met 43-year-old Bernd Brandis on an online fetish website. Bernd was a voluntary victim and wanted Meiwes to murder and cannibalize him.
Und seine Vorstellung war es ja, dass ihm also das Fleisch lebend von den Knochen gerissen wird. Er hatte ja gesagt, also er will seinen ultimativen Höhepunkt erleben. Und für ihn war eben diese Vorstellung, wenn er praktisch bei lebendigem Leib verspeist wird, dieses ultimative Glücksgefühl.
The two met at Meiwes' home, and what happened there sent shockwaves throughout the world.
Ich habe ihn in den Hals gestochen, praktisch hier rein, sodass die Messerspitze auf der anderen Seite wieder herausguckte. Das erste Mal, wo ich dann von ihm gegessen habe, das war ein Stück aus dem Rücken, was ich mir extra vorher zurechtgelegt hatte. Und das Fleisch schmeckt ähnlich wie Schweinefleisch, etwas herber, kräftiger. Aber ansonsten, wenn jemand anders davon gegessen hätte, er hätte keinen Unterschied gemerkt. Also es schmeckt recht gut.
Meiwes would go on to fuel his depraved desires for the next 10 months, until a student found his online ad searching for his next victim and reported to the German authorities. They found Bernd's remains all over the house, with some buried in the backyard. They also discovered several videotapes and photographs where Meiwes had documented the whole process. Meiwes was arrested and went to trial. Although the charges against him were severe, Meiwes was ultimately convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8.5 years in prison in 2004. A year later, the prosecution appealed the verdict, and after a retrial, his initial manslaughter conviction was overturned, and Meiwes was sentenced to life in prison.
Ich hatte mir das ja nun auch über 40 Jahre lang oder 30 Jahre lang praktisch herbeigesehnt und gewünscht.